Burgess here with Music Marketing TV. Today we're going to be taking a look at the latest and greatest from FL Studio, the frequency splitter. We're going to be taking a look at an application of it, one that's a bit more creative. And so here I've got the frequency splitter on this sound. Let's take a look at the sound. Let's go ahead, let's hear it in context. So that is the sound we're going to be looking at. Now, I'm not going to show you how to make the whole sound because there's this whole signal chain. There's a complicated EQ part. Several other things in this chain are being modulated, and the FM patch is complicated. So I really want to just focus down on the frequency splitter and how you can use it to make a sound a bit brighter and cooler. Let's focus on that effect. So I'm going to take this off and show you what the signal would sound like dry. So this would be without any of this multiband processing here in the middle. And then let's put it back so you can get a good A/B. So you see, it's almost like the sound comes alive. Like before, it's pretty static. It's not really doing a whole lot. Then as soon as I add in this multiband chain, you get this cool, it's like the sound just sort of brightened up. And so this sort of a chain, this sort of a pattern, I like to call it just like a sharpening chain. All it's doing is I have 3 bands, and each band has a wave shaper on it. One band has a delay on it as well, just for like some extra flair. We'll take a look at that. And I'm modulating the filters. I'm automating the filters. So they're moving around, and by them moving around, they change which signal goes to which wave shaper. And this causes some really interesting textures to emerge. And so let's go ahead and just take a look at the setup for the wave shaper first. So first, we've got 3 bands, and you have to send them out, and you have to assign these. So I have it send 1, 2, and 3 is the low, mid, high. And in Patcher, you can see that's send 1, send 2, send 3. So this is the low, the mid, and then the high. And I also have a linear phase on. I touched nothing else. I just wanted to split it into 3 generic bands. And then what I did was I automated the low band's crossover point. So if you rewatch it, so this has the effect of the low band at the beginning is not processing that much. Then all of a sudden it's processing all of this. Then it comes over here, and then it comes back down. So there's all this change in processing behavior, and this filter's moving around. And this has some really cool behaviors. And while I'm here, I'll also mention the linear phase. You notice linear phase is on. If I go ahead and turn this off, so it has a subtle effect on it. So let me just go ahead and play it for you with it off. Now let's go ahead and turn it on. It kind of rounds out some of the sharper corners of the sound. It's not a super pronounced effect, but it was one where I decided to keep it on. So if you're wondering why that's on, that's why it's there. It's just a texture choice. Tried it out. I liked it. So we've got here low, mid, high. So that's what's going on in here. Most people, I don't think, would automate these unless you're doing some sound design like this. It's a more common technique than you probably would imagine when it comes to multiband processing for this kind of sound design. So we come out, and then there's a verb send. This is off though. I didn't like it in the end. And then we hit a wave shaper. So we have these 3 wave shapers. Each one sort of has its purpose. If a wave shaper is just a straight line, the input just passes to the output. There's no change to it. However, if the wave shaper is, not a straight line, the input will change to whatever that line is. So let's say we have something come in and it's like this loud. Well, the wave shaper will turn it up to be this loud. That's kind of how you can think of it. So this is essentially making things louder in this sort of curved fashion. This has the effect of brightening sounds up. Over here, we've got a similar idea. It makes sounds louder. If we were to imagine where the line is, right, it would cross through these 4 points in these boxes. So right around here, sounds from here on in loudness are actually going to be turned up quite significantly, while sounds that aren't as loud will be turned down, and sounds that are very, very soft in the mid-band will just be completely off. And this was in an effort to control some noise that I was getting, and so that's why this sort of shape emerged. And then for the high band, again, we have just a generic sort of turning things up, brightening things up. And then I also have, again, sort of an attempted control on the noise in the high band. So that's what the wave shapers are. So we hit this frequency splitter, comes in, hits these 3 wave shapers, and they're being like modulated around. So that's pretty like complicated behavior right there. But then in addition to this, on the mid band, there's this delay. And this delay is a very, very short delay, 2 milliseconds. And this causes some really cool phasing to occur. If I were to take this out, how do I just select this one? I guess I have to do it like this. All right. So let's just say that that was not the case and it was like this. This is what it would sound like. So this still has the effect of brightening things up and causing some interesting sort of neuro behavior, but it's not as greasy as it was before. If we put this back. Oh, let's lose the verb. And the reason we get that back is because of this delay. And since we're changing the signal that goes into it, when these automations move more into the mid band, we're going to get more of the flavor of this delay. If you look at when the mid band gets bigger, we get a little bit more of that phasery sound. And so that's what's coming through there. It's really, this is really more of like a flanger-like technique, but we're not modulating it. So it sounds more like a phaser to me than anything. And then, so that's the frequency splitting signal part of the thing. That was the basic idea. And I'm automating just this guy to keep it interesting. We hit a maximus after this, which is just pulling things up gently here. And I'm going to be doing some pretty aggressive processing after, so this is just sort of in preparation. And finally, a wave shaper that's got this really unusual shape. I can't really say exactly why I picked this shape. It was just the product of a lot of experimentation. And it was a straight line, just again, gently tightening and brightening things up as I go. And then we hit the signal chain, which is crazy and complicated. For various reasons. The very first thing I do, though, is I do some extremely aggressive filtering. If we were to lose this, it's just this bright thing the entire way. And we also get all that bright stuff, those that sort of squishy sound as you hear it whenever I stop it. That thing, that is from the wave shapers, which I tried to get rid of some of using these as my technique, but you'll see that this by heavily bandpassing it, this is basically just a really complicated bandpass filter. We get rid of almost all of it. And what's left, I consider more part of the texture of the sound. Otherwise, I'd come in and I'd really try to get the wave shapers to behave a bit differently. And then it hits the rest of this, crazy signal chain. This stuff isn't as important to what I wanted to show you here. The main takeaway from this video is you can put a frequency splitter in, automate one of the crossover points, move that around, and then send it through some wave shapers and toss some color effects on one of the bands. So you're changing how much goes there. We could get a lot more complicated in this part of the chain if we wanted to and add like more delays. We could possibly automate this time delay, which could sound really cool. You could toss in some sort of a chorus effect or maybe just a direct phaser instead of doing it with a delay like I have here. I mean, there's all kinds of incredible things that you could do in the middle here. I was searching for a very specific kind of neuro-y texture, and I did this with the knowledge that I was going to be hitting an extremely aggressive filter stage followed by some compression that's just going to pull everything up right after that, and then it just goes on and on. So there's the frequency splitter. A lot of really incredible possibilities. I highly encourage you to whip it out inside of a patcher because I think it's really easy to work with it inside of patcher. And come up with some really cool chains. And you can save them and open them up in other projects. And so I could save this as a template and lose this effect chain here. So if we lose this, So that's just what this is outputting. And then with this chain, I get the neuro-y sound out of it. And a lot of it's thanks to how this filter right here is working. And you see that this chain does rely on what's coming out here. Like changing stuff here alters this. So these were sort of created in tandem. But that is the frequency splitter in a particular use case. If you have any questions about this, feel free to let me know. Subscribe and hit that bell icon for future videos, and have a blessed day.